whole space for you.
Okay.
We will share it together.
Are we ready?
Oh, we got a couple minutes. Oh, I don't know.
I was going by her phone.
Oh,
Her thing.
That's great.
Hannon, are we ready?
I think this is a little fast. It's
Okay.
still only 5:28.
Okay.
Check your.
I'll give you a thumbs up.
Oh, yeah. My computer says 2 minutes. I need a new computer.
Huh? Well, we see a few items on there tonight. Hey, look at me.
We all looked at you.
Hannah was the one that brought it up. I'm just repeating my head.
Clinton's like,
We all looked at you.
There's a few items on there tonight.
we're gonna get through this, Clinton.
Oh, 2025.
See, that's why.
This water is amazing.
Your hair is getting so long. I love it.
Seems longer because she was straight.
Oh, did she? Oh, did you get it done or something today? Oh, nice. It still looks good. I'm still gonna compliment somebody on their hair when it looks good. Yours too, Quentin. Looks great.
I didn't say that.
And mine?
Your hair is wonderful. So is Mary's. And Cheryl's. And Yolanda's. Everybody's hair looks great.
Good evening. We will call the Auburn Study Session meeting for Monday, January 13th, 2025 to order. Hannon, do we have any public participation?
No.
Tonight's study session meeting will be held both in person and virtually. Hannah, can you please call roll call?
Deputy Mayor Rakes,
Here.
Councilmember Ammer,
Here.
Councilmember Baldwin,
Here.
Councilmember Brown,
Excused.
Councilmember Clinton Taylor,
Here.
Councilmember Tracy Taylor,
Here.
Councilmember Trout Manuel.
Here.
We have one presentation on the agenda tonight, the Auburn Symphony Orchestra 2024 Annual Report. So I'll invite you up.
Councilmember Rakes, I'd like to introduce them on the top of the record. I'm Darrell Faber, Parks, Arts, and Recreation Director. And part of this Symphony's annual contract with the city is an annual report at the end of their season, well, the middle of their season, the end of our year, which is always kind of awkward. But they just completed their half season, and the city has continued to support the symphony through tourism promotion, as making Auburn a destination for the arts. And we've had a great relationship between the City of Auburn, the City of Auburn Arts Division, and they've performed numerous times in Auburn and have expanded to our new Postmark Center for the Arts, our Auburn Farmers Market, and various other venues in Auburn. It's been a great relationship, and we have contract authority again to enter that with them in the 25-26 year. And it's a pleasure to introduce AJ Vanderpaul and Kevin Poston, as well as Rachel Perry, and I think you have a couple other board members in the audience, Rachel, if you'd like to introduce them. So the Auburn Symphony Orchestra will be giving their annual report.
Great, thank you so much. Good to see everybody. As Darrell said, I'm Rachel Perry. I'm the executive director. AJ Vanderpool is our board president this year, and he's probably a familiar face to you all. He serves on the planning commission. Kevin Poston is our board vice president. He just retired after 37 years, I think, is that what you said? As a middle school band teacher here in Auburn, and we're really excited to have them as our board leadership. In the audience, we have Gabby Galloway, who's our new individual giving director, and Mondo Sarita is our new communications manager. They both started last Monday. We're really excited, so they knew. Very excited to have our almost full staff here. Wesley Schultz is our music director, and he sends his regards from Florida, where he is conducting the Tallahassee Symphony this week, and it's the life of a music director traveling all over, so he sends his regards. So the report that you were all given encompasses our 23-24 season. We're, of course, as Daryl said, halfway through our 24-25 season, but I'll point out some highlights from last season. In our 2023 December holiday concert was our highest post-pandemic holiday concert. We had over 700 people there, and we almost matched that in this last December. 2024 continues to be our biggest concert of the season. We also had our highest attendance post-pandemic fundraiser last March. I know Councilmember Taylor, you were there. Thank you very much. And it was a great time. It was a new format for us. We tried a brunch format up at Green River College on a Sunday afternoon. It was very fun, and we're going to replicate that again in March and hopefully have even more people there. It was really successful for us. And next week is our 4th year of our Link Up education program. So this is our biggest, you could say, flagship education program. It's where all 4th graders from Auburn School District, the Muckleshoot Tribal School, and we're actually adding Carbonado School 4th graders, are all coming to the Auburn PAC next week. This program is specifically made for them. They've been learning recorder and singing about all the pieces that are on the program in their classroom, and they're gonna bring those recorders next week and play along with the symphony from their seats. It's a really good time, and there are 2 performances. They're about 50 minutes each, 10 and 11:30. If you want to come and have a little bright spot in your day, you're welcome to drop by the Auburn PAC and see that. It really is one of our favorite things. And we're actually working with the school district to hopefully get numbers from teachers on increased participation in band and orchestra programs. Because of this program, we know anecdotally from teachers that they have seen a spike and an increase in their music programs because of students seeing the musicians on stage and getting interested in what's that? That's a bassoon, you know, and things like that. So we're hopefully going to have some more numbers on that, though, in the future. So really, this season, as we've headed into 24-25, we're all about stabilizing post-pandemic still, getting those attendance numbers up at all of our concerts. And, the orchestra model is an interesting business model. This May, we are performing Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, almost 201 years to the day since it was first premiered. But of course, it takes the exact same number of musicians to perform Beethoven's Ninth 200 years ago as it does when we perform it in May. It just gets more expensive to pay people. So that's the interesting orchestra business model that we are working with. But the funding from the city is still remains a crucial part of our budget every year to continue being able to operate like this. And then of course the new Doors Open funds from For Culture. We're really pleased with the increased amount of support. It's going to be a huge amount of support coming from there, and really will just get us up to kind of a stabilizing budget. Even though it looks like it is a huge increase in funds, we're not going to be swimming in cash by any means. We're going to be able to really balance our budget and continue to grow off of that money. So thank you very much. I'm going to pass it over to, we'll start with Kevin, I guess.
Sure.
To talk about some of our community engagement things and why he serves on the board.
Good evening. Thank you for having us here tonight. As Rachel mentioned, I just retired after 30 years in the Auburn School District.
Oh, 30.
Yeah, and 45 years of teaching school band, high school and middle school. And so, of course, I see a keen relationship between what I did my whole career and this symphony, which is an amazing symphony orchestra, and we're lucky to have it as a resource for our students in our schools. And in addition to the Link Up program, the symphony also has musicians who go into classrooms to perform. Some of you probably know Brian Wharton, who is our principal cellist, lives here in Auburn, and he often brings string groups into the orchestra classes all throughout Auburn. Last spring, we were lucky enough to have our percussion soloist, who was doing a marimba concerto with the orchestra, perform at my school for my band students. And it was an amazing event, watching the students' eyes. And here you have this world-class percussion duo performing in my little tiny band room. And they said to the students, do you have any questions? Well, if you haven't been around middle school kids a lot, you might not understand. You can get some pretty interesting questions from those kind of students. But the two percussionists just went with no matter what the question was, no matter how odd or off topic it was, and they just handled it and brought it right back to the music world. And it was an incredible day. And then they left my school and went to my daughter's school. My daughter's the band teacher at Auburn Riverside High School. And the two percussionists went right to her school and repeated the same thing. At our high schools in Auburn, we have separate percussion classes. And so it was really exciting to have these two amazing professional percussionists right in the room with these students. And the symphony provides this. It's an amazing thing. The musicians are so willing and eager to do it, and their interaction with students is amazing. There's no gap in between the musicians and the students at all. It's just fantastic. Of course, we have a lot of things that go in the summer. AJ's going to talk about those a little bit.
Thank you, Kim.
Sure.
Just kidding.
Go ahead.
Well, we have a lot of excellent programming. I think the symphony not only, and this is what I was going to talk about until Kim put me on the spot, is it's a bit of a job creator. We have a fantastic opportunity to allow these professional musicians an opportunity to perform. And I think it's really important that doesn't get lost in the sense of the fact that we do leverage city and school district resources to be able to put these performances on, that they are excellent performances. I've been trying to articulate the best way to describe the symphony for those of you who haven't been, but I think what I've settled on lately is that when you hear it in the audience, you see the instruments, you are closer to God. It is incredible. But let's not forget what the symphony fundamentally does is give these excellent performers an opportunity to get paid for their work. And we have, I'm not musical. Mr. Pashan taught my daughter, who's now a ninth grader at Riverside, before he retired. She's very musical. I'm not. But I know there's a lot of musicians on stage. I can't tell you how many we need for every performance, but there's a pianist, people play flutes, people play violins, people play all other sorts of interesting instruments that I couldn't describe or draw or tell you the names of. But what I know is it all comes together beautifully. These are people who spend a lot of time on their craft. They spend a lot of time developing. We wish, as an organization, we could give them more resources. We could give them more opportunity to prepare so that they can put on the best show. But we do the best we can with what we've got. So if I could take as much time as necessary to talk about the beauty of the symphony, it's that we put these people in an opportunity where they can showcase their art. And I think that, while not as special, as heartfelt as the work we do in the community, it's an extraordinary aspect of the work. And of course, the city and school district, we have to thank you graciously for the resources you help us, you provide us so that we can make sure that part of things goes on. So, did I touch community well enough, Kevin?
Well, I guess between you and Daryl, as Daryl mentioned, we have quite a presence in the summer in the parks with the farmers market performance by the brass quintet. And then again at the kids, is it Kids Day we're there? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, this year we had a booth at Kids Day for the first time, and we made over 200 banjos out of paint sticks and CDs. It was quite a lot. It was a lot of fun though. And then we have been part of the city's Summer Sounds concerts in West Cove Park. And we also hold our own concert at Seuss Creek Botanical Garden at the end of every August. So we really are year-round something going on.
I'd like what we do at the library too. Is that rhythm and rhymes?
Yeah, one of our newer education programs we do at the Postmark, as Daryl said, and that is a partnership with the Auburn Library. So this is meant for the littles. It's a combined music and storytelling lesson with an Auburn librarian and one of our musicians, and that's going to be coming back in 2025, thanks to a Postmark grant. So.
It's fun if you want to go. I went the last one, and it's really fun.
You don't have to have kids. You can just come.
No,
it's
that's
really
right.
fun. It's more fun with kids.
Very informal and hands-on for the children.
Is there anything else you guys want to share? Otherwise, I'll wrap up.
No, thank you again for the ongoing support. It means a lot to the folks who help run this organization, our employees, and of course the musicians who play great music.
And I'll just leave you with sort of our really big long-term goal that I think maybe the mayor and the deputy mayor are a little bit aware of, is that we are in very initial talks to partner with Historic Seattle to renovate and eventually own and operate the Carnegie Library as a music education center and community-centered space. And so it's still very early talks as Historic Seattle is doing their thing first, but we are really excited about that possibility, obviously becoming an anchor here in downtown and Auburn in general, being able to serve even more people than we already do.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Can you take questions now?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Councilmember Trout Manuel.
Yes, hello and welcome. You mentioned that you go to Lesboro Park and the libraries. Do you go up to Lee Hill Park? Or,
We have not done anything
or
there.
Lake, you don't go up there? Because I know that they have huge parks as well, that they do some things in the summertime. And it would be nice for you to share the wealth to those people in that community as well. Okay, just a thought.
I'll make note of that.
Any other questions, Councilmember Tracy Taylor?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Not so much a question, more of a comment. I have attended several concerts this year, and it's truly a gem in our city. It's so secretive sometimes, but I love that you guys.
Not so secret.
Right, yeah.
We don't want it to be secretive.
Right, and that's the thing. I think your community engagement this last year has been remarkable. It really has. And so I don't know what you're doing, but continue to do it. And I'm looking forward to attending a few more concerts this year. So thank you.
I think that's one thing. If we can get this Carnegie Library and that becomes the home of the Auburn Symphony headquarters, people will see us more visibly. That's a real dream of mine.
I can personally tell you I'm excited if you guys get that and it all goes through. It'd be wonderful for downtown. Any other questions, Councilmember Baldwin?
Yeah, thank you guys for being here. And like my counterparts, I was going to say that I did have the pleasure of attending the 11 Legends event back last spring, and it was phenomenal. As well as when you guys have your sort of presence within our community activities, right? Like the farmer's market or within the downtown. I remember there was one afternoon where I stumbled on a string quartet that was playing beautiful tango music, and I was never more disappointed not to have a dance partner because I was ready to tear it up. But in addition to that, I want to say thank you not only for bringing the arts into the community and keeping it alive and bringing it to the next generation, but as we're looking at different initiatives that we have in the city to do things like address, youth violence or, having the arts as an outlet and as an anchor to get people engaged in other ways that they can, deal with their emotions or deal with their energy. I always think that when you see arts being diminished, that's when they're needed the most, because people need to have channels for letting that out. And whether it's banging on drums and percussion, whether that's having a marimba challenge, or wailing on, some brass trumpets, I think it's moving and I think it's important for people. And so I think for youth to be able to have that exposure through the school programs and the library programs is fantastic, and very excited simply just to have the performances for us as adults so we can have those moments to say, it's not all, I think, especially in the eras post-pandemic, like it's nice to be out, it's nice to be in buildings, it's nice to have, like you said, that music just kind of reverberate through you and feel that energy in that moment. And so thank you for bringing that to our community. And then from just a diligence perspective, you've also accompanied this presentation with 14 pages of write-up, justifying that when we do provide support through funding, it's very easy to see all the different ways that you're showing up for us. And so looking forward to continued partnership and when it comes time for applications for Carnegie, if you need a recommendation, by all means, let me know. I imagine perhaps others here would be excited to write something in support.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
And that's
Rachel's pretty thorough.
Sure.
Any other questions, council?
No, just a statement. Looking forward to going to the school and taking part of that. I just love it every time you guys go there, just to see the youth get so involved. So thank you.
Thank you very much. The first item on the agenda for council discussion is ordinance number 6962, and that will be with Director Galb.
Yes, and I have Amber Old, who is our right-of-way specialist, who will come up and give you a briefing of the Kent franchise proposal for their water facilities.
Good evening, Deputy Mayor, Mayor, and council members. As Ingrid said, I'm Amber Olds, right-of-way specialist with the Public Works Department. I'm here to discuss draft ordinance number 6962 for franchise agreement number FRN 24-0003 for the City of Kent under Title 20 of the Auburn City Code, and consistent with federal and state law, any utility or telecommunications carrier or operator that wants to locate their facilities in the city's public ways are required to obtain a franchise agreement with the city. The City of Kent has applied for a new franchise agreement as a portion of their water facilities and their service boundary area located within the city limits and our public ways. Kent's water service boundary area that is within our city limits is shown on the map on the screen. It's also on page 42 of 53 of your agenda packet. Generally, this area is the northeast area of Lee Hill. It includes the area known as the Bridges that was annexed into Auburn in 2023. It also provides for a water line that's in South 277th Street. Completion of this franchise was one of the requirements set forth in the agreement between Auburn and the City of Kent regarding the 2023 annexation of the Bridges area. Kent currently provides potable water service for human consumption, other domestic use, including residential, commercial, and wholesale use, and fire suppression purposes. Their application was reviewed, found to be complete per the city's requirements, and the proposed agreement is consistent with the city standard form agreement. The agreement would be valid for 20 years. Future alterations, repairs, upgrades, improvements to their existing facilities and any new facilities within their water service boundary area would require them to obtain construction permits, which are managed through the city's permitting process at a requirement of the franchise agreement. In bringing this agreement forward, city staff have verified that it meets the code requirements that council must base your determination on. A public hearing is currently scheduled for January 21st. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Council, any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Council, before we move forward, I did accidentally skip over something, and so, Hannah, do we have any agenda modifications?
No, Chair, we do not.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda for council discussion is ordinance number 6965, and that will be with the Senior Staff Attorney, Taryn Jones.
Good evening, council. Good evening, Mayor. I know I said Jason Whalen. You get me today. So ordinance 6965 would be inputting into our hearing examiner chapter, specifically a burden of proof for dangerous dog designation appeals. That just brings us into compliance with what our constitutional requirements are to residents. We've been operating under that burden of proof. It is not that residents haven't had it. We've just been stipulating to taking on the burden, and this would put it into our code. Any questions about that? The background summary provided a little bit more, but if there are any questions, I'm happy to explain further.
Any questions, council? Councilmember
Just-
Troutman.
Have we had any reports here recently with any dogs incidents or anything like that for us to have bringing this back?
We had a dangerous dog designation appeal recently. I can't speak to whether animal control has had more reports. It's only after a dog is deemed dangerous and then goes through first review by the police department, and then they decide to even appeal that review that it gets to legal. So we did have one recently. They're not common. Looking back through legal's records, we've had 2 in the last 5 or so years. So they don't come up very frequently.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Baldwin.
And just confirming for any dog owners at home, this is specific to individual dogs that have been determined to be dangerous, not breeds specific.
Correct. So it's based on the definition of either potentially dangerous or dangerous dog, requires that there have been some incident or some action. So usually it's an injury, and based on the severity of the injury that was caused, a dog can be deemed dangerous, but it's not. Your dog is a pit bull, so therefore it is dangerous. It doesn't operate in that manner.
Okay, great.
Councilmember Troutman.
Yes, just for the viewers again, if someone does have a potential dangerous dog, are they required to put a sign in their yards, beware of, dog? Are they required by our codes?
Off the top of my head, I don't know about signage. They are subject to certain restrictions in terms of either restraint restrictions, be it fencing, or you can accomplish it in different ways. But you do have to essentially provide some barriers that protect other residents from the dog. There's also some insurance requirements and things like that. So I could double check if signage, on a yard or something like that is required. Off the top of my head, I don't recall.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Taryn. Are you doing the next one too?
I am.
Okay, we'll just leave you here then. The next item on the agenda for council discussion is ordinance number 6966.
Okay, so this ordinance relates to the bases that a tenant can be evicted. This is a heavily regulated area in state law at this point. Regulations in this area have frankly only been increasing over the last few decades. So more and more is dictated by state law. In 2020, we put the code 523-070 in place, sort of in the midst of COVID is my understanding. It's now been examined by a court, and they found some tension between state law and city code. So our code to begin with largely mirrored state law. So repealing this actually doesn't do much in terms of taking away protections for tenants, but it does bring us into compliance with state law after that court case. And then it also just makes clear for tenants you should go look at the state law bases for eviction instead of the city code. So it may take away one or two things. Unfortunately, those are the things that the court has told us we are not able to do. But it doesn't prevent any of those protections that are currently in state law from still applying within Auburn. Any questions about repealing this particular section?
Councilmember Baldwin.
Thank you. For people who are landlords within Auburn, if they're looking for updates similar to the tenants, is their best bet then to also head to whatever state code for that? Or are there resources that could provide them kind of a good translation, if you will? Not everybody's comfortable parsing through code.
Right. So state law is a very good resource. They have both outlined the landlord's responsibilities, rights, timeline for taking action, and tenants. So it is aimed at addressing both. That being said, there are other resources, both attorney and otherwise. King County has a King County Housing Project that provides various resources both online and that you can reach out. It's primarily for residents, but if a landlord called, I don't know that they'd be turned away, since King County does want compliance. So there are other resources out there, but the state law does cover sort of both sets or both sides of that relationship.
Councilmember Baldwin?
For those people who are landlords in Auburn, do we, in changing this, need to do any type of notification for them that code is changing?
We don't necessarily need to do a notification. Legally, they're presumed upon us changing the code and you going through the public process of doing so, they're presumed to know. That being said, my understanding is that this is a code that was relied on more as a reference tool than actual use and enforcement. The court case that came up, it was actually the landlord that did not rely on the city code, and it was the resident who relied on the city code. So at least in that situation, the landlord was relying on state law and aware of that. But we wouldn't typically notify landlords of this type of repeal because it was largely mirroring state law and used more as a reference.
Okay.
Any other questions, council? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
With there being no more items on tonight's agenda and no further discussion, this meeting is adjourned.